Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for Stage 5 of the Vuelta a España. We're already a quarter of the way just about through the race from Fuente del Maestre to Sevilla. This was another sleepy siesta stage in the home of this siesta, the south of Spain, particularly if you're in Sevilla in August. I was there 2 weeks after this last year. It wasn't too bad, actually, but it's 36 degrees. It's called the frying pan of Spain. If I look at Ben O'Connor's ride on Strava, I can see they averaged 40 degrees on his head unit today with a max of 44. They had the Volta of Portugal style fire hoses spraying over them, and it's all about keeping cool. And before I do the profile, Benji, Adam Yates said something yesterday, on the cycling podcast about the heat. Like, it really seemed some guys thought yesterday the heat was affecting their performance. So, have you written off someone like Yates, or do you actually think when we go to the north where it's cooler, he might still be a threat?
Well, I haven't written out anyone from the first mountain stage. I feel like in Grand Tours we've seen many times, even without the heat, that someone can have a bad day on day one when it comes to a big mountain stage, and then later on they ride themselves into the race, or they have a better few mountain stages that come afterwards. So I don't write anyone off because of one day, but obviously if you're Tao Geoghegan and you lose a decade yesterday, yes, I've written you off. But if you lose a minute and a half and you're Yates, then I haven't written you off. So it kind of depends on the situation, but I still have Yates on the radar, that's for sure. Is he the first person I look at when I'm Roglic? Not necessarily, but I do keep him in mind.
And onto this stage, we wouldn't really learn much more for the GC guys. No categorized climbs. Some hills, though, which I thought was a bit mean to not have any K1 points available for the guys that would go on the breakaway in 40 degrees heat. But the last 50Ks is downhill/flat as we go into like Sevilla proper, or the city, where there's an intermediate sprint. The latest we've had so far in the stage, 25Ks from the finish in La Algarba. And then we finish in Sevilla at about 5Ks to go. They go past the beautiful plaza with the blue tiles and the colorful tiles. It looked empty, predictably, because it was so hot at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then a few turns, but actually pretty... The last 3.5Ks is straight. So they had 4Ks to go was where the safe zone was today, because it really was like a long straight. Van Aert the favourite alongside Groves, I'd say. Bittner the third favourite. Coleman Strong's not looked as good so far in the sprints. But we have the same men in the breakaway, Benji, or the same teams, rather.
Yes, indeed. We've got Ibon Ruiz once again. I feel like the guy's been in the breakaway every time there's a flat stage. And Chomin Juaristi, or Juaristi, don't know how you pronounce it, from Euskaltel. So once again, Equipo in Pharma and Euskaltel, they've got a bit of a dual adventure on them for today, just like in every single sprint stage so far, the same teams. And that break gets the 3 minutes roughly barrier that you'd expect, but there's control from behind because there's sprinters here that have won already sprints like Wout van Aert and Groves that are going to have their teams right at the front. Someone like Heesing, for example, but also like the likes of Riesebeek for Alpecin, and it gets controlled. So we know this break ain't winning. It's basically an exposure breakaway for the rest of the race. And then we do get to the intermediate sprint. Breakaways caught at this point, and the intermediate sprint's kind of already in the phase where you see teams position themselves. And this is not the Tour de France, so positioning in the last 40 kilometers is not as serious as at the Tour de France, but you do see Bora doing very well at keeping Roglic at the front in today's stage, I do feel like. It's like textbook keeping your rider at the front, by the side of the road, try and create a bubble around Roglic, and they did that perfectly. Yes, this is not the Tour de France. Yes, it's not 5 to 10 teams trying to do that exact same thing with their top GC rider. But if you can't do it at the Vuelta, then you definitely won't be able to do that at the Tour de France. So it's a good sign to see that. And we get to that intermediate sprint. We got Bora on the left side of the road from the POV of the riders. And it's like Bora makes a bit of a gap opening in the peloton for the sprinters to come out. It was like Bora orchestrated the intermediate sprint. The Bora lead out, or not really lead out, the Bora train kind of moves left, and it opens up the space for Wout van Aert and Groves, who are sitting ready for the IS. And Wout van Aert looked pretty great at the start. He takes one side of the road. Groves starts in the wheel of Wout van Aert and then chooses to to go to the complete opposite side of the road. And we get a pretty epic sprint, I feel like, for an intermediate sprint. Usually it's a bit meh. Some riders don't go full for it. But here we have Wout van Aert on one side of the road going full, and Groves on the other side of the road going even more full. And Groves beats Wout van Aert at the IS. I don't know what the differentiation in terms of points before the stage was. Well,
before the stage, it was 6. Groves took 2, gained 2 yesterday.
So he gained 3 again at the intermediate sprint.
Yeah.
So he was virtually 1 point behind after the intermediate sprint. The green jersey battle is on, to be honest. And I don't know. I did mention Roglic for it before the race. I might have been a bit overestimating the points that go to GC riders in the race. But then again, this is one of the last sprints as well. So who knows what will happen. But for now, it's really close. And the final sprint still had to come. But what else happened? Because I feel like from this point, this intermediate sprint towards the final sprint, the only thing that happens is EF crashing.
Yeah, and I didn't see it. They had been at the front before. I didn't know who for exactly because Carapaz shipped 2 minutes yesterday, but he said he missed a bit on and he was parched. So maybe he's a Yates situation where he just overheated and got dehydrated, and he actually is on good shape for GC. But Rui Costa crashed and had to abandon the race. He went down hard, which would be a shame for him and the Portuguese after just finishing in the Portuguese stages. And there was another rider that crashed. Owen Dual crashed and went down pretty hard as well. So not good for EF, but largely there was no mass pile-ups and it is a big finishing straight. And we do see the 4K zone, Bora get through it, and then because there was a right-hander, and then it goes again, and they go through first.
Am I right in saying that the point that was the more dangerous spot, the corner you're fighting for, was at 3.7 kilometers to go roughly in today's race? And if that's the case, it feels to me like the 4K zone is too close. I'd like to see a 5K zone if the 3.7 kilometers is the mark where you're fighting for, because GC teams would have to disappear in 300 meters, and then they might as well stay at the front for that corner.
And that's what happened. Red Bull basically stayed at the front, and they had Roglic third wheel, and he left 1,000,000 meters of space around him, and then they just kept pacing on the straight. So I was like, which I also think is, I've seen Ineos do it, Visma did it in the Tour last year, Red Bull were doing it. I was like, this is so, why do we have this 4K zone? And firstly, the safest time to pull off is as soon as possible. The later you pull off, the more hectic it's going to be. So yeah, it's not a Tour de France sprint, but it's still a sprint. If you pull off at 2Ks to go, it's going to be hectic. So I was like, when they got through that corner, I was like, just pull off, and go to the back, you're safe. And then you stay at the front, and then eventually you're going to get washed over, and then it's going to be a nasty way on the way back. So anyway, Alpecin train was really in shape today, and really showed clearly they're the best train in the race, frankly.
Was it me, or did it feel like they had one rider too many in the last 900 meters? Because I swear they had 5 riders into the last kilometer, and then in the next 300 meters, between 1 kilometer and 700 meters to go, we saw not one rider pull off, but also a second rider pull off who only really paced for 3, 4, 5 seconds, it felt like for me. So it was as if they were circulating through it quickly because they realized, okay, we're going to have one too many by the finish. Is it a problem to have too many riders in the last 400 meters?
I think so, because then you don't really, I don't know, you just sort of, the speed might drop a bit, particularly if you have like a quote unquote, like a not a professional lead out guy doing the pull, and he's not doing it at 60 Ks an hour and the speed goes lower. We should mention that Mikel Landa had a flat tire in the last 3 Ks, or maybe he had it before the last 4 Ks and then he nursed it to, which is what you should do. It's what you should do.
But then he did it at 2 kilometers to go. He was at the back of the peloton, so I'm leaning towards he actually had a flat tire in the last.
Yeah, he didn't do the Remco 2022. Anyway, and Alpecin looked really good. The Visma lead-out riders, they seem to not be able to make up their mind, whereas Van Aert has made up his mind. Unlike the intermediate sprint, Van Aert was going to try and repeat what he did when he won the sprint 2 days ago, which is sprint from the Wheel of Grove. So we see Volta move up the left-hand side, trying to bring Affini and Van Aert up. Van Aert looks at him, says, see ya, and just sticks to Groves' wheel. Affini goes to the right-hand side. This is later now in the last 600 meters. Starts his lead out to the right-hand side, maybe trying to overlap the Alpecin train, which wasn't getting through its riders quick enough. Van Aert looks at him. Have fun over there. I'm sticking on Caden Groves' wheel. He's the man I got to beat in this sprint. But there's Pavel Bittner and Coquard. They're both jockeying for the wheel of Van Aert. Alpecin, it's a slightly left-hand bending sprint. And to be honest, yeah, I think Van Aert's probably right to do that, Benji. Like, Groves has been the quickest guy in this race.
Yeah, I agree. And for a second there, I thought Affini might actually start blocking in Wout van Aert by the position he had, but that was not the case because Affini was on the right of Wout van Aert, and the Alpecin lead-out, Edward Planckaert, he did something different compared to the sprint that they lost against Wout van Aert. In the sprint that Wout van Aert won already a few days ago, we had the Alpecin train hold themselves by the barriers, and Wout basically had to go on the right because he couldn't go on the left because there was a barrier there, had to go on the right, and chose to do that early. In doing so, boxing Groves in. So that's the danger of going by the barrier side. The problem with not going by the barrier side, we see today. We see Edward Planckaert leading out with Groves in the wheel, and there's actually a gap on the left side. So he's not holding the barrier perfectly. And the reason that lead-outs tend to hold the barrier perfectly is to make sure another sprinter can't come past on two sides of your sprinter, only on one side. I've already said, boxing in is a risk if you do that, and it actually impacted Groves the other day. But in this specific moment, Wout van Aert goes for the gap on the left side with Bittner in the wheel, and I gotta be honest, it looked like Groves wasn't expecting someone to move on the left side of his lead-out and of him, because he was looking to the right.
He was because that's where, first of all, that's where Affini's just come. So maybe he can't see three wheels back. So maybe he thinks Van Aert's on the back of Affini.
True.
Secondly, it's a left-hand bend like the sprint 2 days ago. Van Aert went the right side of Groves. So maybe Alpecin drilled from that sprint. They drilled from that sprint. Lead out. Don't keep Caden boxed. Leave space to your left in case Van Aert jumps him on the right. And today, Van Aert jumps him to the left in that space they've left, whilst Groves is looking to the right shoulder. And when I saw Groves looking, I was like, it's done. Because if you can't get the immediate draft, you're finished in a sprint. Doesn't matter what everybody's level is. It wouldn't matter who it was. Van Aert goes left to the barriers. It is early. He is in, I would say, again, a light gear. His cadence seems very, very high. Pavel Bittner takes his back, comes out, and to be honest, at 55, 70 meters to go, it looked like Bittner was going to win this sprint easily because the way he came out of Van Aert's wheel. And then Bittner, I don't know if he died on his run or Van Aert saw himself getting past or what happened, but it seemed like Bittner actually, after being in the win for quite a while, he started to slow down himself.
Yeah, we've got a fight between dead swans is what I'd classify it as. Two sprinters that are kind of running out, and we see that in their jump to the finish line. I don't know who's going to win with 20 meters to go, and we're waiting for that bike throw on the finish line to decide who's going to win this sprint. And to me, it looked like Wout van Aert threw his bike a little early, and regardless of that, they both crossed the line next to each other. And I don't know about your eye test, but my eye test said I have no clue what I'm seeing. I don't know who won.
The overhead, I thought Van Aert won. The side-on looked like Bittner had it, and definitely Bittner was coming with speed. And like in horse racing, normally the theory is that the one coming with speed from the back is the one that wins the photo. And actually, Bittner threw too early, baited Van Aert into throwing, and we're talking like 15 meters too early. And then Van Aert throws and then realizes that's not the finish line, and then half pedals a bit, gets closer to Bittner, and that's why it looked actually like Van Aert was coming back at him, because Bittner just threw and just held for like a full second before the line. And Bittner gets the photo finish. So to be honest, if they both thought the finish line was where it actually was, Bittner would have won. So in the end, it's not like a Van Aertveld situation of yesterday. Bittner was going to win the sprint anyway, and he does, winning his first Grand Tour stage. For DSM, Firmenich Postanel, the Czech 21-year-old in his first Grand Tour. He won two stages, in fact, 2 sprints in Burgos. He got beaten by Lamperti, but came second in a Czech Tour sprint. If we're honest, like in the other big sprints, he's not been there, but it's actually it's the trajectory of a 21-year-old. So like, if he can get it clicking in the last 3 months and he gets some wins on the board, then suddenly he could be like he is maybe. Yeah, this could be who he is now for the next 5-6 years. So big win for Bittner, big win for DSM, who they've won quite a lot of Grand Tours. I'm mixing up their women's team. No, they've only won 3 World Tour races.
Close enough.
Still, it's a big win for them.
First of all, when it comes to Bittner, he's from Czech Republic, and I feel like Czech Republic has quite a few solid talents coming on the stream, because we spoke about Matthias Vacek the other day, who's seemingly a pretty good rider, and now we've got Pavel Bittner as sprinter. I think Pavel Sumpik is a pretty good junior rider, if I recall correctly. That's coming up as well. So I think he was good at Pay Junior race, the Peace race, whatever it's called. Where were the days of the Czech riders in the past? Kizerlovsky, I think. Stibar, maybe the last Grand Tour stage winner to get it with Kreuziger. Kreuziger, Jesus Christ, memories. But it's good for Czech cycling, I think, to see the upcoming riders there. Next to that, for Bittner himself, 21 years old, young rider. I still vividly remember signing this guy on Pro Cycling Manager in 2021. So that's a typical Pro Cycling Manager sprinter. And to finally see him step up, because he was from the dev team from DSM, then in 2022, if I recall, during the year, went to the actual pro team halfway through the year, and we're now 2 years later, so it's an in-house developed rider for DSM, and it's paying off, and they've got quite a few riders like him in Lund Andersen as well, who, if you send Lund Andersen to the Vuelta, I think he wins a Vuelta stage as well. So it's one of those occasions where if you send this guy to the Giro or the Tour, he wins no stages, in my personal opinion, because he's too early in his development to get to that level. Yeah. But in a Vuelta sprint field against Groves and Wout, if they maybe make a little mistake here or there, and even head-to-head sometimes, I reckon it's not shocking to see him win a stage against them. But
yeah, hold on. Well, actually, speaking, I went past Petr Vakoč today too, so I also dropped him. So speaking of dropping Czech riders, I did what Wout van Aert couldn't do. So
where are the days of Petr Vakoč? He was so good before he had he was also on a mountain
bike and stopped to take a phone call. So let's just add that into the context of that story.
That didn't happen, eh? So just ignore that.
I think he had health issues or something. He had a big crash, no? Because he was,
he won Brabantse Pijl back in the day. And after the Brabantse Pijl, I think he had a serious injury, hit by a truck during training, fractured vertebrae in 2018, 16 weeks out. And I don't feel like he ever really came back in a serious way after that, which is unfortunate. There's too many cyclists that get hit during training, and I think driver culture, in my personal opinion, is a big part of that.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the sprint today. In terms of the points delta, it's not actually as big as Van Aert might have hoped for. That's the other problem with not winning the stage. So I should do the top 10. Bittner, Van Aert, Groves, Coquard 4th. It's his best sprint so far. Stefan Kung 5th. Corbin Strong 6th. Narvaez 7th. Arne Marit 8th. Gianmarco Garofoli 9th, and Antonio Jesus Soto 10th. In terms of GC, no changes. Points jersey, Van Aert is now 13 points ahead of Groves. Bittner's all the way up into 3rd. KOM, Monique, obviously that's unchanged, so no points today. And yeah, that's it. I guess DSM got to be regretting. Do they regret giving Jakobsen that contract?
Well, they should, but it was stupid to do so, in my personal opinion. Like, Jakobsen to DSM was probably the transfer that was the easiest to predict to fail, in my personal opinion. A team that has no experience properly, like, they have the experience, but they couldn't pull it off in the recent years. Positioning a top sprinter in Tour de France sprints, they weren't able to do that. And to then get Jakobsen, who has problems positioning himself, that combination will never work. So every now and then you're going to go ahead.
Well, like it's also where's sprinting going? Nothing else happened at the stage, so we may as well discuss it. Where's sprinting going? And it's a lot of 73 to 77 kilo guys. It's not 85 kilo guys. Like
versatile.
You got to be fit, and you to even make the finish, and then you got to be fit even in a UAE tour last 10Ks. You got to be fit. And you look at these like Merlier. Merlier is not just a sprinter. Like he is also a flat classics rider. He is a bit like Greipel almost. Like he is not just a basic cookie cutter sprinter. Philipsen won Milan-San Remo, and Roubaix is second. Van Aert speaks for itself. Koy is 74, 75 kilos. Milan is not just a sprinter. Milan's 5-minute value is insane. He is a classics rider. So the pure like big boys, even Bauhaus, I swear, improved his like fitness the last 2 years, Benji. Like that Tirreno stage he won this year. So it's tough. It's tough with the Groenewegen and Jakobsen guys, and I'd actually say Groenewegen sometimes does climb okay. And we saw on the tour, Binny won the green jersey in 3 sprints, and he's also a classics rider in like 74, 75 kegs probably. Same with Bittner.
Milan's kind of the exception where he's an 80 plus kg guy, I'm pretty sure.
But he's a freak.
But he climbs like a crazy person compared to the other 80 plus kg guys. So he also won today, right? Didn't he win he won
the
Little
prologue.
Treks and their S tier team to the Little Deutschland Tour because Little sponsors the Deutschland Tour?
We'll do that now. Yeah, but as Benji said, because it's called the Little Deutschland Tour, and it is the Little Deutschland Tour this year. There's no climbs because maybe they're trying to gift Pedersen the GC. They took out, there's no Schanzland. It's all like classic stages. So maybe that's a bit of home cooking. But yeah, Little sent fucking Pedersen, Darnola, Kirsch, Milan, Schoens, come on. Did you really need to send Schoens as well? Like he can, and Gebregs could be like, that's ridiculous. Against, I don't know, against whatever. And the
Aular's there.
Ganna's there, and Hayter's there. But yeah, stage 1 was the prologue today. First the 5 stages in Milan, and Pedersen went 1-2. Milan beat him by half a second. Michael Zeilard third. So Luke's boy is also looking good still in the prologues. But yeah, like it's really, really good parkour for the little guys.
I low-key won a 2.5 kilometer prologue into middle of a Grand Tour.
I kind of do as well. I like the prologues. I really do. Because you make one mistake. It's like one mistake and you're done. Like one corner, it's all by a second. I like them.
What if you've got like a 2 kilometer time trial, but the last 600 meters is like 9%. The rest is flat. Is that an Alaphilippe time trial? Or will that still be a Pedersen time trial?
I think it's still for sprinters like the Lee. And or Vauquelin even, or Pogacar. Oh no, still sprinters. I think they go pretty quick. But tomorrow's stage in the Vuelta stage 6, we have a different stage. So this is the first stage of this nature that we've had so far. 186 kilometers long from Carrefour. This is the one they start in a Carrefour in Jerez de la Frontera, and then they do a Category 1 climb to Puerto del Boyar. 15Ks, 5.5%. There's then some undulating terrain, an intermediate sprint at the end of a 7.5K, 4% climb, where there's also bonus seconds. Then another Cat 3 that's shallow. Then the Puerto Martinez, 3.5Ks, 5.9%. And then the 4Ks, 5.5% is the like final climb per se. But then the actual finish, I think, is... let me look at the actual finish. Actual finish is like 3Ks at 4% again. So the last K is about 4%. It's not a flat. It's a puncher's finish, I would say. Finishing in Junquera.
But who will take it? That is the question. On paper, yes, Bora could control this, but I think realistically, there's going to be a lot of riders that see tomorrow and think, okay, this seems like a potential breakaway victory. So you've got that. But then again, if you're Lotto, do you consider your chances from the breakaway higher than your chances with Leonard van Eetveld in the peloton?
For sure.
I would say yes. So I'm going breakaway, and I'm going to go for, like, this is the kind of stage where you kind of look at GC and you think, does Roglic want to keep the red jersey, or is he okay with giving it away for a bit?
It's the perfect stage to give it away, because the guy you give it away to is going to, well, depends who goes in the break, but you could really let it out to 15 minutes with the right breakaway. And the right guy in there.
Sure. These kind of riders will be in there, I reckon.
And they can at least take it off your hands for 2 days probably. Like Pacher could keep it for 2 days, so, or three nights. It's worth it. So yeah, I do not see Bora controlling tomorrow. I think that would be, because are you sure that Roglic can beat Corbin Strong on this finish, or Van Aert on this finish? I'm not.
Ooh.
Or there's no way you can be as sure as as compared to yesterday.
Not
and
really.
It's way harder to control. I think Visma
this is
more
one of the
likely to
stages
control.
that I considered Van Aert as a potential option for this stage, but
no Van Baarle.
Why can't Van Aert then just go in the breakaway?
With Walter.
For example.
Like, Walter's also very good for this finish. Very punchy. Yep. So that's the question. Do you go in the break with Van Aert and Walter? Because if you've got Van Baarle and Hessink, you really can lock the stage down. It doesn't matter who jumps. You have these two guys that will just relay at 370 watts and the break will go nowhere. But that's category. The problem is, Benji, for the breakaway formation, the first 25Ks is flat. So if you do get Ibon Ruiz and Luis Angel Mate just in the break again, then maybe everyone's like, it's too hot. Visma controlling. Pardon?
I'm looking at names like Andreas Kroon, Rein Tarame, Remy Rocha, Pacher, those kind of riders in the breakaway, together with some boys from Moiscal Telecupo and Pharma like Joan Bou and Jose Para. These guys are all still like within 5 minutes in GC, by the way. So like Andreas Kroon is on 1.5 minutes. I wouldn't consider him dangerous though, if I'm Bora. Because let's be honest, he's losing a decade in by week 3. So, but he's also like, Andreas Kroon is kind of rider where physically I'd expect him to be able to win a stage like this. But tactically, I'm not sure. Because I feel like he often misses out on splits.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Campenas to win this from the breakaway or a late attack. He looks dangerous. He picks the right move. He did it in the Tour de France, and I think he's going to be targeting this stage. So I think Campenas is going to win.
I think that's a very good pick, actually. Kind of jealous of him. I will go with 3, 2, 1. I'll go with Andreas Kroon. Why not? That's my pick. So
he's in great shape.
Destiny, boys.
Yeah, I think this is a great stage for a lot of Destiny, and elsewhere, there was the Tour de l'Avenir first mountain stage, and that was won by Joseph Blackmore. Jana Widar was the strongest climber. Blackmore came back to him on the shallowest section of La Rosière and was the last British man to win on that was Geraint Thomas in the Tour, I think. And so he actually won then a sprint between himself and Pablo Torres, who's on UAE Dev, the 18-year-old. So a big win for Joseph Blackmore in his breakout season. So Israel Premier Tech will be very happy with that indeed. He was on the Conti team for 3-4 months at the start of this year. Thomas Hart and Leo Bizio a little bit further behind in terms of GC. Widar's 9 seconds behind Blackmore and Torres on 23 seconds. I dare say if it's not tomorrow, which is a 12.3Ks 8% finish, which is hard, or Finestra on Saturday, Widar is still looking like the very heavy favourite for GC because
Widar is the favourite in GC?
Is much bigger than him. Pardon?
You dropped out, my friend.
Oh, sorry. I said
Widar
should still clean GC.
Okay. I low-key expect that the same because on the real super climbs like Finestre, I kind of expect him to be over Blackmore. I do feel like Blackmore, is it me or is it weird seeing Blackmore in Avenir because we kind of know him already because of Brabantse Pijl?
Yeah, I mean, I saw some people like, why is Joseph Blackmore doing
Not that far. I
the
think
it's like,
he can do it, but it's weird
bro,
seeing it.
it's weird also because he's so much bigger than Torres and Widar, but like he did Tour de Rwanda last year. That was his first road race ever. Then did 2 U23 races. Then did Rwanda, Taiwan again, some one day. Like they're doing the right thing developing him. He's 21. I want to look at Van Aertvelt's trajectory. Can we just stop expecting 20-year-olds to all of them to perform to just do a full world tour schedule? And also he's not going to win GC probably anyway. Thomas Kraft looked good. Disappointments would of course be AJ August on Ineos or United States. I don't know what happened with him.
He finished in Narnia, mate.
Yeah, because he was good in I don't know what it was. Czech race, Czech tour.
No,
that was Leonard. Leonard was decent in Burgos. In the women's Tour de l'Avenir, which is also on at the moment, they're starting with an uphill prologue, which it was about 6 minutes long or just under 5 minutes long, and that was actually on La Rosière. So it was 2.1 Ks at 7%. So a VO2 max, literally a VO2 max compound score test, which is kind of exciting. And one of the latest goers, Laura De Schepper, who I didn't know who she was. She's 18, and then I checked, she has a 5-year deal at AG Insurance. She just beat Isabella Holmgren, who is I would say, the better Holmgren sister. I don't really know exactly. Who's a big talent on Trek, who was really good in the juniors and is already on the Trek Women's World Tour team. And Ninka Vinka, who was good on her feet, came third on 12 seconds. So De Schepper and Holmgren, really, really impressive performances on that. And tomorrow is a mountaintop finish. They do the same as the men's race pretty much. So interesting stuff.
Can't wait to see.
I mean, what is weird is Marion Bunel doing the Tour de France Femme straight into the Tour de l'Avenir. That is strange, I must admit.
That has the vibes of Fedorov doing the Elite Time Trial World Championships to then doing the U23 Time Trial World Championship.
I might draw the line
there.
Odd. Also because it can't be the right preparation. It can't be. I think that's all from us. I don't think... I'm not doing Tour Poitou Arnaud Demar Farm Fest anymore.
Well, he failed farming.
I know, that's right. There's other news around the traps. Michael Hessmann, it was just announced in the German press that that WADA appealed his original suspension of 4 months from the German National Anti-Doping Agency, and it's been extended to a 21-month ban with all three parties, those three parties being NADA, the German anti-doping, Hessmann, and WADA, agreed on 21-month ban, which ends in March 2025. His contract with Ismaili Bike ends at the end of this year. So basically, he won't be racing. He won't be racing until March next year, if indeed he does get a contract for next year. So it's the actual basis for it. Like, it doesn't say the basis for it has changed.
Yeah.
It's just that WADA wanted a bigger sanction.
Yeah. Like, I don't expect him to have a contract next year. Like, I don't expect Visma to
really
extend this contract. And
mate, Stannard just got picked up.
Yeah, but he's got an active ban in the year that we're talking about the contract, like 3 months of next year.
But there's clarity with Hessmann. Like, NADA, WADA, and Hessmann is settled that it's contamination of a war or whatever. With
maybe halfway the year he can get picked up, but I don't know. Like, but also the Stannard thing. I'm sorry, but the guy just had a retroactive 4-year ban, and now Bahrain's picking up. Like,
that's what I mean.
Fan of it.
But that's what, I'm not saying you have to be a fan or other way. I just say, why would you be surprised? I think Hessmann will get a contract next year. No, probably not a Visma Lease bike, but elsewhere. Because he was a big talent in the Giro last year, and if Stannard gets picked up by Bahrain, then if Quintana gets picked up by Movistar after the Tramadol, if Baudin gets continued with Ajax, I know Tramadol is not an anti-doping rule violation. I understand that, but
I feel like with every single one of the examples, there's a, how can I say this? There's a rest zone between what happens and someone picking them up. So I think it will take until 2026 for the pickup to happen. Because even with Stannard, like, sorry, but it's not like he just got out of a suspension either, eh? And then when it comes to Thingy, Quintana, there was also a rest period there. Like, who knows? Maybe Lopez comes back after a suspension.
I saw him the other day.
Oh God! Did he also take a stop and you passed him and then you pretended to drop him?
No, it's just in the street. But I don't know. It depends if these guys, if they keep training as well with no team, which is what Quintana did to get the contract. But Quintana wanted to contest it, which was, as we discussed, a strategic mistake in the end. I think that also held him out longer, was him trying to contest it. He should have taken his licks and moved on with it, because it was multiple sound. Anyway, other news, which is very strange, or not strange, more like sad or expected, was the founder of Decathlon Ajax Mondial, reported in L'Equipe, has been fired by the team. Vincent Lavenu, who you'll have seen in the Netflix series with the O'Connor episodes. They were the sort of the stars, I guess, of like 5 episodes. Lavenu was the older gentleman to the left of driving to the left of Julien Jardy in the Ajax car, who said that O'Connor, he's like, the one that said sponsors won't pay for a rider that gives up like this. Anyway, that's just to tell you who he is. But he founded the team in 1992, and then he was forced to sell the team to Ajax Mondial 2 years ago, which is a pretty common thing, actually. So, Vorder sold Garmin Slipstream Sports to EF. I'm pretty sure EF owned the team. And, I mean, Denk was not forced to sell, but Denk sold the team to Red Bull. It's quite a common thing. But this sounds like more he was forced to, and he was replaced last summer by Dominique Serry as the boss, and he was sort of became sporting manager, but apparently he really wasn't making any decisions. And then straight after the tour, basically, where they did have a bad tour, he got emailed or mailed that he was fired straight up, and he was said, return your work phone and computer. And then apparently he went to the Chambéry headquarters and like collapsed. It sounds like he collapsed, like from the stress or whatever of being kicked out of the building, and the fire brigade had to come, which is very sad, of course. And not dissimilar to, I can't remember, I saw it in the bicycle industry website. This happened with Scott. I think the Korean fund bought Scott Sports, or the parent company of Scott Sports, and there was a dispute in Switzerland between like a CEO that got fired or not last year. Anyway, what do you make of this?
Whenever a team comes to the point where, when a sponsor comes onto a team and their name sponsor, for example, they invest so much money, there's a certain point that some of those sponsors want some equity, if not the majority equity, in the team itself. And we saw the same thing with the women's EF team that ended up folding and then rebuilding because EF wanted to have majority equity. They wanted to own the team, and the owner of the previous EF team wasn't a big fan of that idea. So she wanted to keep it going, and it folded as a consequence of that decision. And then the new team was EF building that new EF women's team. So that's a situation where the takeover didn't happen, but it actually just killed the team, then restated the team in the way that the sponsor wanted it in the first place. And sometimes there's the owner wants to sell, sometimes they don't, and then they kind of have to look for another sponsor, because if for example Ajax, they say, okay, we want to own the team, then the US owner have to say, okay, I kind of don't want you to do that, but then Ajax is going to be like, okay, well then we're not going to sponsor you next year. So it's pretty easy leverage from the sponsor side, Yeah.
Especially if you don't have another sponsor lined up. So and it's hard to get sponsors for 15, 20 million, although they got Decathlon in. And but yeah, apparently one of the reasons given was they weren't happy with the with having informed them quickly enough of the anti-doping procedure that had been opened against Frank Bonnemore, who got suspended by the UCI on February 5th. That was one of the reasons given. And he was dismissed by the team on March 26th. But to be honest, like, Bonnemore, he was on AG2R last year.
Yeah.
That case also, I have no idea what's going on there. It sounds like a biopassport, I think.
Yeah.
The UCI released that. I don't know if there's been any follow-up, but...
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, so it's like, when was it? What's going on?
Well, it's UCI, man. You can't expect an answer in the next year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy what's going on at the moment, frankly. Like the Yannick Sinner stuff yesterday, it's just crazy. And the Olympics, before the Olympics, it's really, really, but out of control. Like, just because you saw all the tennis players yesterday, they're like, okay, this might be the right answer. They're like, we're not disagreeing, it might be the right answer, the conclusion you've reached, but you kept us all in the dark for X number of years, not X number, for X number of months regarding this, and with the athlete continuing to compete, Yannick Sinner. And the same goes for when Reuters released that article that there'd been US track athletes competing for a number of years who had tested positive for banned substances that had been like basically accepted. And they're like, what? No one knew about this. So anyway, we'll find out, I guess, about what happens with Bonnemore, whether it's dismissed or not in the future. But indeed, he's been dismissed by Decathlon, Ajazala Mondial, and Vincent Lavenu has been dismissed. I dare say maybe he copped the brunt of having a poor Tour de France, but who knows? That's all from me, Benji, unless you got any other news.
No, I finished my painting yesterday evening, so quick update there. I started laying the floors, and to be clear, zero experience. So I'm that idiot that looks on the internet and looks up how to lay laminate on YouTube and then tries to imitate it, then hits their hands with a hammer while trying to like click them in. And Jesus, it's so difficult. I've gotten so much respect for floor laying people this morning because I spent 5 hours in that room, and it's about a room of like 4 meters by 3.5 to 4 meters. And I swear I've done like 25% of the room. 25%. So at this rate, I'll be spending the next 4 days laying floors in that room. It's actually not okay. I should have got someone else to do it because I'm incompetent.
Are you saying that being a podcaster is easier than being a tradesperson?
Oh, that's a bit far-fetched, my friend. Come on. No. I think being a podcaster is a pretty easy.
Dude, it's the easiest show in the world. That's why everyone does it. That's why everyone tries to do it. You just sit here and just talk.
But a lot of people try to do it, but the ongoing grind,
I'm being
not many people
of course.
Follow it up.
Yeah, to do it for 5 years and have the continuity, of course, doing it day in, day out is different. But
we're complaining about the struggle. Oh, no.
No, I'm not complaining. Just, as you say, people give up. Okay, that's all from us. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you with the maybe a break, maybe an uphill sprint stage in the Vuelta tomorrow. Right. Until then, ciao.